Today's guest is Scott Lowrey, and we're talking all about youth sports, from the parents to the players to the financial aspect of it. This is an episode that you're going to want to listen to if you have a kid playing sports, or maybe if you are a coach yourself. Check it out. All right, well, welcome. And today's guest is Scott Lowrey, and I'm super pumped because we have a first-time guest co-host, Miss Elise Igliane. And you'll understand as the conversation unfolds why Elise is with us. But Mr. Scott Lowrey, thanks for being with us.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me.
I would say, Scott, you're not only a past client, and you were, I said this, I think, in Whitney's podcast, your wife's, when she was on, which if you haven't listened to that episode, go listen. So good. Scott was very tough in the listing appointment, and I really loved that. Like, I really loved it because I can take it, but on the flip side, it was so fun when I won you over.
Yes. And here we are. We're friends, and you are wonderful. We recommend you to others.
Thank you. Well, and that's what I was going to say. Yeah, not only past client, but friends, which I absolutely love, which is the best part about what I get to do.
Yes.
But you have a whole other side, which I so love and respect. And we even have a connection outside of all of this. So, but we want to know, before we jump into all of that, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I don't have much of the accent anymore, but believe it or not, I actually am a Texas boy.
Okay.
I've had to learn how to speak again and lose some of the Texas accent as it downgrades my IQ, right?
No. Does it ever come out though? Like my mom, she was born in Dallas. And when she was like really animated, it would come out. Yeah.
So when I go home, my wife, Whitney, still says, you know, if we're there for a few days, she's like, ooh, your Texan is coming out. And you will hear me say, y'all, fixin', about to.
Love it.
So a refrigerator is an icebox to me.
Okay.
So very much still some of those Texas roots for sure.
Yeah. Do they call soda pop?
It's a Coke.
Oh, it's a Coke. Okay.
Yeah. Most everything is a Coke, whether it's a Sprite, a Dr. Pepper, or a Coke.
Okay.
It's a Coke. And then it leads to, I'll have a Coke. Well, what do you want? You want Dr. Pepper? You want Sprite? You want root beer? What do you want?
Good to know.
So, so I grew up just west of Fort Worth. Grew up in a rural, small town, about 5,000 people. But I was only about 30 minutes west of Fort Worth. Mm-hmm. So ended up going on to the University of North Texas, which is up in Denton. And then from there, my life has kind of taken off. I guess a little bit about my childhood first. I grew up in, again, small rural town. Baseball was my first love. Mm-hmm. It always has been. And so I played all throughout, played a lot of Little League, and then did a little bit of travel ball as I got older. When we were younger, right, wasn't as much a big deal. Mm-hmm. Got to high school, was a 4-year letterman in varsity baseball, and then got to the senior year and had a couple different offers to play. And as most baseball players eventually tell you, my career ended as I tore my labrum.
Yes.
And I found out basically at that point that I was pretty much no good.
Yeah.
My shoulder was pretty much done. Oh. And so at that point I went on and really didn't have a whole lot to do with baseball, actually, for quite a few years. Then a buddy of mine got me into softball and kind of played that for a few years here and there. And then had kids with my wife. And then I became a coach, and I've now coached for 15 years straight.
Yeah.
And I've coached every level from the littlest of kids to college scout stuff during the summer and everything in between.
I love that.
Yeah.
You know that one of the reasons why I'm excited to have this conversation with you is because that's one of our connections is the softball world, with Elise growing up playing competitive ball since she was little and all the way up through high school. And then to my, broken heart, she didn't want to go and play in college. So, but totally understanding that world, it is a whole other world.
It is a whole other world.
And if you're in competitive sports and you're either a player or a parent, you understand, and those outside, but it consumes, like that was our life.
Yes. From 5, 6, 7 in the morning, right? Getting up early on a Saturday, driving across town, being there for 4, 5, 6 hours, and then going to bed and on Sunday morning getting up and doing it all over again, right?
Yep.
Especially in the baseball, softball world, basketball, right? Travel basketball. So yeah, definitely it consumes you.
And though there are pros and cons like there are with anything, and I want to start with some of the really awesome aspects of playing competitive sports. So what would you say?
Yeah, Janine, I would kind of set the stage, I think, by kind of just rattling off a few facts. So for numbers folks out there, you're going to love this part. But I truly believe that the numbers, there's detail in numbers, and the numbers don't lie. Couple of stats here real quick from a New York Times article. Youth sports are projected to be about $40 billion industry in 2025. Youth baseball will take up about $2 billion of that pie. To put that in perspective, folks, at $40 billion for youth sports in 2025, the movie box office grossed about $8.7 billion last year. So to put that in perspective, there is big time money in youth sports as a whole. Youth baseball is an interesting one, especially being that in 2023, there were 16.7 million participants in youth baseball. That goes for travel ball, little league, rec ball, legion, everything in between. The cool part, actually going back to you, Elise, is the fact that over 8 million softball participants in 2023. That was a huge growth as well. The expectation is about a 6% growth annually. So that's really changing how this industry looks, which again, that's why youth sports are growing at such a rapid rate. So much so, this is kind of the ugly side of youth sports. Wall Street has actually taken interest. Wall Street is now buying up big parts of youth sports.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Cooperstown, right? All-Star Village is actually owned by two individuals. One escapes, I believe it's Harris and Blitzer are the main two individuals, but I believe they own the Washington Commanders, so I want to say like Philadelphia 76ers as well, but they have a big conglomerate on Wall Street, and they actually purchased the Ripken experience at Cooperstown.
Interesting.
So and that's not the only thing. That IMG Academy was purchased by a Swedish company for $1.25 billion. If you're not familiar, it's down in Bradenton, Florida. It's a sports academy.
Why do you think that is?
Well, there's big money in sports, right? We all know as parents, we're all guilty of it. We will do what we can to increase our kids' skill sets, mindsets. I'll be the first to tell you I'm guilty in that. My youngest son, he actually sees a counselor, a psychologist, and that's one of the big things is the mental preparation, but not only for sports but in life, right? But there's so much right now, and there's a lot of money being pushed into youth sports, and so you're seeing a lot of academies, a lot of organizations, again, a lot of youth specialties, because as parents, we believe that our kid is the next insert name, right?
And I want to get to that because I want to get to that in a second. But before we do, I think what it's very, reminiscent of is taking a good thing and too much of a good thing then becomes a bad thing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because I think sports in general can be amazing. There are so many life lessons for our kids to learn.
Yes.
It's so good to be active. Here in Arizona, it's hot. Like I grew up in California, we were outside all the time. Out here, it's really hard to do that, So the organized sports almost forces that. And so that's good. But then also I think being a part of a team is really important, right? Yes. Knowing that you can push yourself, being proud of yourself when you do well. Like there's so many of those lessons to be learned in youth sports. Elise, I want to ask you, sorry, Scott, what would you say are some of the things that you learned growing up playing softball, competitive softball?
I think the biggest thing was working in like a team environment. I loved like growing with my teammates, and then it's also just very like motivating being with other people. I also liked being like, I liked the routine of it and also having something to do every day that was like good for me and something that I loved. Like
getting out and being active.
Yeah.
And to piggyback that, right? You hit it on the head, Elise. something you love. And I think that's a big part of what we're forgetting in this
Yes.
whole equation, is that youth sports is becoming bigger and bigger by the day. But we have to go back to the roots of what is this about? It's the love, it's the passion. Sports were meant for kids to understand how to get along with each other, how to work as a team, right? Because this is all real world things that as we age out of sports, and there is an end to sports, that when you age out, that you can be a person who contributes to a team in the office world or in the office space, right? But also too, it teaches you a lot about who you are. It's a character thing. It's a makeup of what are you willing to do? What are you going to take from this memory?
I think one of the downfalls, I feel like I'm going to sneeze, so sorry. One of the downfalls is the parents. I'm just going to say that. I'm just going to end it there.
Let that out of the bag now.
I'm just going to end it there, is the parents. In that they almost want to live their, like, vicariously through their kid, their student athlete, which puts like tremendous undue pressure. You know,
Absolutely.
For me, I didn't play sports growing up, and so watching her and my other kids has been like one of the, like, such a fun experience, right? Because it's all new to me. I didn't have that. But I think sometimes we can put undue pressure, unrealistic pressure, right? Where it kind of goes back to what you were saying about it being so fun, and now it's not so fun.
Right. Going back, I've coached for 15 years in a head coaching position in youth baseball of all different levels. And the one thing I found most interesting, there was a recent article, and Aspen Institute survey is the one that released this stat, but the stat says roughly 2 in 10 youth sports parents think their child has the ability to play Division I sports. Right? I know, as we laugh, right?
I for sure.
And 1 in 10 think his or her child could reach professional ranks or the Olympics. So we kind of, right? We sit on.
But like, what is the reality of how many actually do?
Here's a great example for a reality. In high school baseball to college baseball, right? Baseball being my world, only about 8 to 10% of high school baseball players will go on to the college ranks. Okay, now that's Division I, 2, 3, NAIA, right? Then you have your JUCO levels. There's 1, 2, 3 in that regard. To put it even more so in perspective, Janine, Division I baseball, only about 2 to 3% of every youth player will actually make a roster there. And that's only going to get harder. NCAA has just cut the rosters down to 34 from, I believe it was 40.
Wow.
As of this next season.
Wow.
So you're going to see a trickle-down effect.
Yeah.
Again, going back to youth sports, and at the college level, I still, in a sense, it's a high level of baseball, but it's still a youth sport, right?
Yeah.
18 to 22-year-old guys going at it. But the trickle-down effect is going to be big. It's going to be huge, and it's going to affect that, because now you're going to see where these high school players are not going to have as many chances, because the fact that the NCAA portal is going to allow for a lot of movement. Kids are going to get cut that were probably the best on their team for many, many years.
So, Scott, with that information and with that reality, what does that mean?
So I think what it means in a lot of ways is that we have to enjoy the time we have with our kids. Love the moment, enjoy the moment, right? There's a big part to this process, right? From the time we start as a young kid, and then we mature and we go through it. Why do we play sports, right? Because we love it. We have a passion for it. There's something about it that drives us, right? And again, what we're developing inside is we're developing this character, this mindset, this personality of who are we becoming through this sport. But at the end of the day, the basis is still the love of the game.
So one of the things that is hard, and Elise, maybe you can speak to this too, but as parents, right, I've always heard that you should never like coach your kid after the game. Right?
100%.
And it's hard as a parent, you're like, oh, right? And
so many thoughts that go through our head.
I know, if you would have just done this, right? I'm sure Elise has thought that many times, like, really, Mom? But what should you do?
So actually, my oldest son, he's actually in college now. He's a college pitcher. And he and I, he was about 9th grade. And again, keep in mind, I had coached him since he was about 5. We came up with this rule. And the rule was, we're not going to talk about baseball at home unless he wants to talk about it. And that's where we left it. And what I'll tell you is one of the most beautiful things formed from that. And that was that our relationship became tighter. There was a lot more, I would say, like trust in that. Because when we got in the car, regardless, win, lose, didn't matter. It wasn't about baseball anymore. It was, hey, it's about life. And one of the things I really want to remind parents out there is love your kid in the moment, leave the rest of that behind. Whether they win a ring, they win the banner, they win the trophy, or they go 0-4 on the weekend.
Yeah.
Love your kid. This game only lasts so long.
Yeah. I think that is such wise advice. I remember being told that you should just tell them, I loved watching you play. Like that should be your only feedback after. That's it. And then if they open it up or ask questions, there's your open door, but otherwise no. And they know, right? You guys know.
Yeah.
You know, I think we've experienced this. I know my wife talked a little bit about this on her podcast, but we've gone through it with our youngest, right? And our youngest son, he had a benign bone tumor. Still deals with it to this day. He's had surgery since, but it was almost a 3-inch bone tumor. It was benign again, but it was in his right humerus. To say gut wrenching is not even close, right? We dealt with that for 2+ years, 3 spiral fractures of the humerus, just throwing baseballs. Again, he's in a lot better place now after surgery, but it is one of those things that for 2 years, I watched my son sit more than he played. It was tough as a parent, right? As parents out there, there's a lot of great parents that are in it for the right reason that coach, right? Then there's others out there. I think there's a personal agenda to maybe living vicariously through their kid. But I think at the end of the day, watching my son go through it, it definitely built character in him. It's made him, in a sense, right, this stronger minded individual. But what I'll say at the end of the day, he learned the game from an aspect that he never would have had he been playing it all the time.
I love that. So that wasn't wasted.
It wasn't, right?
Him sitting there, I was just telling my son this in volleyball, like when you're not in the game, you need to be watching and talking to your coach, asking questions if you can, so that you're learning. Volleyball's a newer sport for him, so that you're learning.
Absolutely.
Right? Take advantage of that. I think though that, and again, my limited, I was her team manager for a minute. I saw parents get way more involved and way more opinionated and aggressive with the coaches than I think was appropriate, right? And at the end of the day, and this was the message that I would have for her and for any athlete, right? Is like, your coach is your coach, right? You're going to have good coaches, you're going to have bad coaches.
100%.
Doesn't that sound like your life, right? You're going to have good bosses and bad bosses, right?
Absolutely.
You got to learn how to deal with them. I also think too many people, and more so in today's generation, have this expectation of entitlement, right? Like, I should play. I'm better, right? Are you though? And have you earned the right? And then the other thing I would say is the attitude. I say this to my kids all the time. Attitude is everything. Absolutely. How you show up. You could be the best player, and if you're an absolute jerk, you're probably not going to get a ton of playing time, right? So how do you show up? Are you cheering on your teammates, right? Or like, what does that look like for you? If you're on the bench, are you high-fiving, right? I think that is so important, but I really feel for the coaches because I think, unfortunately, us as parents, like, probably contribute to a lot of reasons why they don't stay in it, or why they hate it, or why it's hard, or whatever.
I've been very fortunate to coach a lot of great teams, and it came through hard work. It came through dedicating time back to the kids dedicating the time and the work and the process. But the biggest thing is that at the end of the day, as parents, and I'll say this for what it is, you have to let go. You grow through what you go through. And for a kid,
that's a quote right there.
Mark it down, folks. No, but it's true. And even too, I used to tell my players, I will be your biggest fan and your biggest critic because I want you to see your blind spots, right? Because you don't want to be that great exceptional athlete at 12 years old, that once the playing field levels in high school, you are now average or not even on a team. And you have to be willing to accept feedback. You have to be willing to accept some criticism. And I would say too, parents, right? Like, let the coach coach. You know, there's things you don't see at a practice because you're not there. You're not with these kids. I heard this statistic one time that, you know, in youth sports, especially in the club space, that club coaches are with kids almost more as far as actual relational, transactional time than the parents are during the week. So in a sense, and I can tell you, like, I had kids that I coached since they were 5, 6 years old, all the way through 12U. And it's one of those things, these kids were like my own, right? And never once did I have kids say, you know, oh, coach, I didn't like your criticism or your feedback. Or it was understood, right? Okay, let's go get better, right? And I think if you have a coach who's willing to run through a wall for you, that player will follow.
Oh, I totally agree. I think that shows up, right? And what is the agenda there? And as a parent, you have to kind of trust that process.
100%.
Right? And also that's again where like that separation of your kid, letting them kind of become their own person, is sometimes they're going to have to go through that. And there isn't anything that you can do to prevent that. And so maybe it is getting some hard feedback that they, you know, don't want to hear. But if you as a parent can model respect and respect for authority and all of that, that's going to go so far, I think, for your student athlete.
Well, and going back to the like coaching thing, I always had the most respect for those coaches, the ones that were like there to push me to do better. Obviously there's like a boundary with like too much, but those were always my favorite ones where they would tell me what I need to hear and help me do better.
And I think too, just as a parent watching Elise, she would do well when she knew that her coach believed in her. Right? And so that she would show up better. Whereas when she's had coaches that were really hard on her in a maybe inappropriate way, that affected her. Today's episode is sponsored by Eco Roofing. Eco is led by a third-generation Arizona roofer who is also the president of the Arizona Roofing Contractors Association. They offer free estimates and the best warranties in the states for shingle and tile roofs. They love giving back to their community and will always be here to serve you. Thank you for watching the episode. You know, our podcast is called The Real Deal, where real estate meets real life. And I love sharing these real life stories, but we are also in the real estate business. And so if you have any real estate needs, maybe you're thinking about buying or selling or wanting to invest in real estate, we would love to help you.
I would agree with that. And I think there's a boundary to that, right? You know, when I say, hey, parents, let the coaches coach, there is a boundary to that, right? There is that asterisk to that saying. But at the end of the day, I think most coaches are in it for the right reasons.
I would agree.
You know, I don't think, you know, you hear the labeling of daddy ball, right? Especially in the baseball industry, but you know, it happens across all sports. But at the end of the day, I'll tell you, for every 10 teams, there might be, you know, 1 or 2 of those teams. Most coaches, the athletes on their roster, they're there for a reason. They serve a purpose. Now, parents, I'll tell you, like, this is one of the keys, right? Listen in, come in close for this one. Your child is on that roster for a reason. It doesn't mean they're the superstar, but they are a vital part to the team.
Love that.
Let them be a part of that. Not everyone's going to be the superstar. You can't have chiefs that run the village and also run around the village, right?
So good.
You've got to have chiefs, you've got to have Indians, and when you do, it's a beautiful thing that comes together. You have leadership, you have people who will follow, who will work, who will grind. And that's what I think parents miss. We all want our kids to be superstars, right? Who doesn't? But we also have to understand our players have limitations. And even the best athletes have limitations.
So Scott, what do you think? Because I kind of like what we talked about earlier, this has evolved. And it's become something that it never was. Right? So what would you say, and some good and some not so good, what is the antidote to that?
I think it's balance. I think at the end of the day, parents need to find a balance. Do I believe in supplementing your child's sports experience through pitching lessons, hitting lessons, right? From the baseball aspect, defensive lessons. Absolutely, 100%. And I think too that every person has to be honest with their kid too and ask their child, what do you want from this?
Yes.
Right? Whether it's football, it's basketball, it's baseball, it's softball, right? Like, what do you want out of this? Because I've seen great athletes who don't want to continue their career after high school, right? Yeah. And for those that don't know, I was actually lucky enough to coach Elise for a couple of years in softball.
Yes.
She's an incredible athlete, an amazing softball player.
Thank you. What do you think is like the percentage between kids who play for like their parents or whatever else it is versus who play for themselves?
Ooh, man, bringing the tough questions, Elise. Wow. Put the plant in here today. Like, bringing the tough ones. No, that's a great question. I would say, how many play for their parents versus playing for themselves? I would tell you, I don't know what that real number is, but Elise, I think you're onto something. And what I will say to that, how many kids look up in the stands at their parents when they make a mistake?
Yeah.
I call it the affirmation look. Am I going to get the ride home today? Yes, you're going to get the ride home. But that to me tells me more about an athlete than the athlete who makes the mistake and mentally resets and goes right back and doesn't need the affirmation. That is key to me.
That's wow. I think what you just said is like really, really powerful.
Yeah.
How do you cultivate that in your athlete? And at what point, because again, I think there's so many great lessons to be learned from sports, but not everyone is made for playing sports.
100%. And I think there's a side to that, right? There are still outlets for youth sports for kids who don't aspire for greatness, right? We as a culture, especially in the United States, have created we have to be exceptional culture, right? We have to do it for the gram, you know? And the reality is your kid may not want to they may not want to pursue long-term goals in sports. If your kid wants to build robots and go like do robot battles, be their biggest fan, support them, like wear the t-shirt, do it for them. Yeah. Because I've seen too many parents through the years want it more than their kids. Yeah. And this goes back to living vicariously through the child. If your child doesn't want it, don't force it. It's not going to end well. Yeah. And what it will lead to in a lot of ways is probably resentment and or a severed or shattered relationship between the parent and the child. Yeah.
What do you think about like multi-sport student athletes?
Love it. And and here's why I say that. Actually, one kid in particular who I used to coach here, he was a football athlete and a baseball athlete. And I used to always tell his parents, like, yeah, you can go do that, do your thing. He's a great athlete in football as much as he is on the baseball field, right? Multi-sport athletes are incredible because they possess a skill level that is utilized in multiple sports that then cross over to the sport they're in the moment, right? That's huge. You can generally tell a football player that plays baseball. Baseball is a slower game by nature. There are times where it can be fast, but the reality is it is a slow tempo game. A football player can then be inserted and they have a twitch to them. It is a fast twitch movement that the game does not bring to you unless you're training for it. And so that's huge. And you pick those kids out. And what I mean by that, this particular kid, he was a center fielder for me. He ran like a gazelle. Yeah. I mean, a ball was in the air. The kid can make plays like nobody's business because of the athleticism that football brought to him.
I love that. That's so cool because I think so many parents want to pigeonhole their kids into one sport and one sport only, you know, and now they miss out on that. And then even students themselves, right, want to just do the one and miss out that, you don't have, maybe you're really good in this. It's okay to be okay in this, right? There's so many skills and things that you're going to learn that can help translate that will make you an overall better athlete. Our philosophy has always been like, let's just expose them to a whole bunch of different sports and see what they like.
Sure, absolutely.
Right, and then kind of push them, and maybe outside of their comfort zone. And I think I personally, not that you have to go like pro in every sport, right? But I am going to have you do something where you're staying active.
Right. Well, 1 in 10 believe their kid is going pro.
I
so
know.
That.
Our pastor at church always says, your kid is not going pro.
He's trying to beat the odds. Going back to it, again, right? It goes back to embrace what your child loves.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it's about.
Yeah.
And I think if parents today, like if you really take anything from this today, take this from it. Love the time you have with your kids. Enjoy the moment, whatever they embrace.
Yeah.
Right?
I love it.
You have to understand that this is only for so long.
Yep.
This is not their life.
Yep.
And even, I was in Cooperstown just a couple months ago, and even Hall of Famers, their career comes to an end where they can't play the game anymore at a high level.
Yep.
So understand there's always an end to this.
Yeah.
But what is the relationship? And I'll tell you, parents, what is your child's identity that they will have after they leave the game?
I think that is so, so important, because so much of today's world wants to wrap your identity in things.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? And so, and especially I think in high school, right? Then that's an easy way of like, okay, you're the softball player, you're the football player, right? And that becomes your label, which 100%. Then becomes your identity. Yep. And as believers, we know that is not who 100%. We are, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's huge.
Yeah.
And we tell our boys that all the time. You're a great athlete, but understand this is not your identity.
Yes.
Right? Now, if you want to be involved in the game, my oldest son, he wants to work in an MLB front office when he's done playing college ball and graduates. Awesome.
Yeah.
Be around the game.
Yeah.
Love the game.
Yes.
100%. But don't make it so much, and especially from a parent standpoint, don't make your child believe that's their only identity. And not to get too psychological here, but we are seeing more and more youth athletes that are committing suicide. And that's a sad reality.
Yeah.
And what we're finding is that those rates are going up, and it comes back to the pressure that's placed on kids.
Yeah. I want to touch really briefly on the parents that are also coaches, because that's a unique position.
Yes.
And I love what you shared earlier about separating those roles and saying, like, when we're on the field, I'm your coach all day 100%. Long. And then when we're at home, I'm dad. Yeah. And we don't have to talk about the other in either space unless you want to.
Yeah.
What else would you say for parents that are some tips to help kind of keep those spaces separate? And I think as they should, right?
Sure.
No kid wants to have a coach on the field and then come home and still get coached. Right?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because my youngest, he'll come home sometimes after practice or something. He'll be like, "Hey, coach." Dad. I'm like, "It's okay. You can step out of the cleats now, right? We're home. This is a safe space." No, I think for anybody that has ever been a coach and a parent at the same time, it is the loneliest, most difficult, generally unpaid position that you will ever take on. It is not for the faint of heart. You will be criticized, you will be mocked, you will be loved, you will be supported, and you will receive all four of those things literally in one season.
Yeah.
It is tough. It's tough. And especially for both the child, and that's what people forget. It's tough on the parent because we don't want to be daddy ball.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, we generally are doing it, and most coaches, especially in the travel ball world of baseball, majority of us have experience past the high school level, right? So there's a lot of people out there who say, hey, I understand how this game works. Now, I've met individuals who have played at the pro level who they're not great coaches.
Yeah.
Right? They knew how to play the game, but they can't coach it. I've met people who didn't play the game who are fantastic coaches. But to kind of bring that all back, like, you have to be a coach on the field. I used to tell my kids all the time, I love you, I care about you, I'll always be here for you. The biggest reward, and I want really coaches to hear this message, the biggest reward you will ever get, and I've witnessed this firsthand, is when athletes you coach have gone on and they're playing at college, they're playing at a minor league or pro level of some sort in whatever the sport was, and they come back and they still see you as the coach, and they're that small kid, and they give you the big hug. You catch up with them. How's life? How are things? That's what this end goal is about.
Yeah.
And whether you're lucky enough that it's your kid, and you get to, I have been fortunate to watch my own son play at a high level and enjoy what he does. And there's nothing better, right? But I would say it's equally as good when you see kids who you've coached through the years, that they walk up to you and they're 6'4" and they bear hug you. But in their eyes, you're still the guy who's bigger than them.
I love it.
Right? It's the alpha thing going on. But you knew you poured into them and you left the deposit, and there was that investment made that returned.
It is, I think, a very special, unique opportunity that a coach has with that player, because I think anybody that's played can tell you a story or two of a coach that was impactful in their life for one reason or the other. And that is like a tremendous opportunity. So I would say use it wisely.
100%. And remember too, a lot of coaches have the pressure of, if they're the parent, they don't want to be in that daddy ball situation. So you have to remember, you have to love your kid that much more in the moment. Right? And I think being honest with your own kid makes a difference too. I'll be honest, my son was a year younger with a lot of the teams that he's played with. He wasn't the best athlete in that moment because physically he was not the biggest, strongest kid out there. But he could play, he could hang, right? And he's going to reset and go back to his grad year this year, which I think is a great decision. We had this conversation with him. But again, that came from a moment of love. It was, hey, where are you at? What are you wanting out of this? And we, with our oldest, this is something we always did. We haven't done as much with our youngest, but with our oldest, we used to always ask him every year, do you want to still play baseball? Not, hey, you're signed up. Hey, you have a club ball tryout tomorrow. Hey, you're doing this. Hey, you're going here. For this lesson. It was, do you want to do baseball this year? And we always knew the answer. But I think your kids need to be able to
feel like they have a say.
Yes, 100%.
I love that, because it will, I look at, again, watching Elise and some of the girls that she's played with, and the ones that went on to continue playing after high school versus the ones that didn't. And it wasn't always the best players. But it was the ones that loved the sport and were so committed to it. And I think that's a whole other lesson, that you don't have to be the best to keep playing if you love the game and you want to put the time and effort into being better. I see that as being the huge difference maker. So it's not always natural talent. I will wholeheartedly agree with that. I will tell you, my oldest, he was never the best player. He had a heart that was willing to work and be tenacious and just continue to grind to find his way to the next level. And, and he's a late bloomer, right? He just hit 90 this year off the bump in summer league. He went 5-0 for baseball people out there. He had a 10 plus Ks per 9 average, right, on the mound. His team, they finished second out of like 18 collegiate teams this summer. And the reality was, he was one of their best pitchers. But if you would have asked him 2 years ago, hey, this is going to be you in 2 years, he would have told you no. He himself would have said, no, it's not going to be me. But he was willing to work and grind. And again, he was a late bloomer. And I think that goes back too for parents, like, understand your child at 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old is not a projectable first round pick. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. Understand your child at 10, 11, 12 is not a projectable first round pick. Okay, I'm going to probably get some heat for that. That's okay. Drop it in the comments below. Thanks. You blow us up. Thanks.
Blow us up. Drop it in the comments. You have to understand, at the end of the day, your kid is not projectable until they're 16, 17, 18 years old, if they're still playing the game. Right? And the reality is, and you can look in baseball's first round draft picks they invest millions of dollars in these slot picks, right? Their slot values, what they call it. And so many of these guys will never see more than a full season at the major league level, if they even make it there, right? Now, there are first round picks, they're projectable, and the pedigree, they're going to be great athletes. But then there's the flip side where they may or may not make it. And it's more than just the athletic ability.
Oh, for sure.
How are they raised? What's their mindset? Can their mentality hang? Baseball's a grind.
Yeah.
There are good athletes who were never even drafted, right? Who they were picked up at some tryout or, you know, some local indie ball game that some local scout saw this guy and said, you have talent. And then they work their way through and they grind and they outwork everybody. So parents, again, understand if your child is the smallest on the team right now and maybe they possess some abilities, it's okay. Invest in them, invest that time in them. If they want to be great, they will.
Totally.
But greatness is defined in the eyes of your athlete, not you.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Scott, what didn't I ask you that I should have? Or at least did we forget to ask Scott anything?
I have a question.
Yes.
When you're, as a coach, when you're looking at players, do you look first at their like mindset, work ethic, or their skills first?
That's it. See, again, bringing the hard questions. You might want to look into like journalism and media, sports media, Elise. Here's what I look at. If you truly want to know, in all the years of tryouts and everything, I look at the first 5 minutes of how they walk on the field. Are they carrying their stuff? Are they prepared? Or is mom and dad carrying their stuff? How long does it take them to get organized and get their stuff out from the dugout onto the field? How do they carry themselves when they begin their warm up? And then I need about 3 to 5 throws to know if they're going to be an athlete I have interest in. Because what they just told me in that whole period is, can you separate from your parents? Can you be okay with being uncomfortable? What does sports teach us? Be okay with the uncomfortable. It's going to be hard. Can you separate and be okay with that, right? From there, how do you carry yourself? Are you a confident athlete? Are you insecure? Do you not know if you should be here or not? Because if you don't know, that means you don't have an identity. And if you don't have an identity, how are you going to morph onto a team if you're insecure? That's a big part. And then just watching the physical ability of 3 to 5 throws.
That's awesome. That's so good.
Yeah. Like I said, bring in the tough questions.
I know, I love it.
You know, I would say a question maybe we touched on, but to, you know, kind of wrap up, I would say there's 3 types of athletes, right? What was it called? It was I wrote it down earlier. This is a Scottism for anybody that's curious. My wife.
I feel like we have a few of them on this episode.
My wife says this all the time. There are, I apologize, let's see, where is it?
Oh, you're fine.
There are 3 categories of players in youth sports: the undersized, the oversized, and the I don't know what size child.
Okay.
What that means is, if your child is big, strong, and more physical at the younger level, awesome, embrace it and continue to grow their abilities. If your child is the small kid on the team right now, embrace their abilities, right? If your child is the I don't know size kid, meaning they have big feet and big hands and they're tiny. They're like a puppy dog, right? Those paws will grow. That body has to match those paws. Embrace it, invest in them. Because what will happen, and we see this all the time, especially in youth sports, the biggest, most physical kid will eventually level out with those small kids. That I don't know size kid may become the kid that at 16, he's now 6'3", he's now 180 pounds. And he's got a man body now starting to form. The kid who was 5'10" and 130 pounds at 12 may have now only grown to 6 foot and he weighs 170. So keep that in mind. The small kids, again, going back to youth sports, the small kid eventually grows too. What is his athletic ability? Parents, pour into your kids, love them, bring them up, embrace them, and just embrace their passion.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Scott. We want to end with our rapid fire questions. Are you up for it? I feel like.
Let's do it.
All right, let's go. Favorite color?
Blue.
Favorite drink?
Can I say that on here?
Yeah, you can.
An old fashioned.
Okay.
Eagle Rare old fashioned. Yeah.
Have you had a smoked old fashioned?
I have.
Okay.
And love them.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
We just went to 333 in Tempe. So
Okay.
good. I didn't have it, but the guys did. Do you have a favorite food?
Mexican food. Dallas Fort Worth guy, right?
Has to be a number one answer.
Tex-Mex.
Yeah. Tex-Mex. It's a little different there.
A little different.
It is. Yeah. What about a favorite book?
Favorite book? I'm going to be honest. I am really bad about that.
Okay.
I am big into podcasts.
Okay.
And
so you can answer that. What's your favorite podcast?
So actually, I love John Deloney.
Okay.
He is a Ramsey personality. Yeah. He's very big into psychology. If you haven't noticed, that might be part of the theme today.
Yeah. I love it. What about a favorite sound?
A favorite sound? Quiet.
Oh.
And what I do every day, peace and quiet is the best sound to me.
Oh, I bet. I thought maybe you would say like the crack of a
I do love the
ball
sound
on a bat.
Actually, it's the opposite. I love the sound of a ball on leather.
Oh, okay.
I love that pop, that snap.
I have obviously a ton of old videos of Elise playing, and every time I love, you can hear when she hits that ball, and I love that sound.
And then you hear right after her screaming.
That's true. I have heard that.
And then last question: favorite vacation.
Favorite vacation. I love this is going to be kind of a random one. Yeah. I love Breckenridge, Colorado.
Oh.
My wife's family, we try to get to do that trip. It's always in July, and it's usually every year, but the last couple of years we haven't been able to, but I love the mountains in July.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you, Scott, for sharing.
Thank y'all.
I hope that anybody that has a child that wants to play sports or is playing sports listens to this episode. Any coaches out there, I hope that they listen and hopefully learn something and can go out and be even better. So thanks for sharing.
Awesome. Thank y'all for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to The Real Deal Podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe, and you can follow us on social media at The Home Selling Team AZ.